Hey guys, I am going to paint something different. I'm going to try to do a peacock. This is not something that I've done before, so don't take me as an expert by any means, but I'm gonna paint it and I'm gonna see what happens, and you get to watch, I guess. So we're learning together. The first thing I'm gonna do is the background. As you can see here, I've got a canvas. It's 10 by 20. Let's see. So I've got burnt sienna, burnt umber, Naples yellow, vermilion, and I might use a little bit of the brilliant yellow and the orange. Actually, I'm also going to use some unbleached titanium. So, I think what I want to do for this is actually just like, well, I gotta get my paints set up. I'm actually just gonna like squeeze little bits of paint onto the canvas in various places, which seems counterintuitive, but I have a plan. Little bit of burnt umber in a couple spots. That panting sound is my dog. Don't worry, everything is fine. He's just needy. Vermilion. Hope you can see this okay. I can't really see what my phone is doing right now. So, little dot here, here, just little spots. This might end up being like a lot of paint, but I guess we'll find out, right? This is an experiment. I've never done a background this way before, but I think it's going to work out really well. Little tiny bits of yellow. Can kind of see. Yeah. Okay. Let me pull this back up. Oh, where's my rag? Here we go. I need to buy a house. This studio space is great, but it's too small. Okay. Actually, I want to kind of make the grain go this way. Whoops. Okay, I like the colors that I am ending up with. It's kind of a yeah. Of course, to get the edges and the top and bottom especially, I'm going to have to take the canvas back off the easel in just a moment. I'm gonna get the sides of the canvas real nice and covered. They don't have to look super pretty, but this will avoid white edges. Something that I used to struggle with a lot. And I'm kind of pulling paint from areas where it's a little bit too thick, and bringing it down here where it's not enough. Yikes. And of course now I have paint all over myself, which is fine as long as I don't get it on my clothes, because I'm not only wearing my favorite shirt today, but also my favorite pants. So they just happen to go well together. So, yeah, that's gonna have to dry before I do anything else to it. And that's probably gonna take at least an hour. At least. Maybe longer. So I'm just gonna clean this brush so it doesn't like get dried paint in it. Oh, and speaking of my shirt, check this out. This is a, got some food on it. This is actually a shirt that I had custom made by Rochi V. She's an artist that I like from the internet, and this is her original piece that she had printed on the t-shirt, and then she like cut the back and braided it like that. So you should really check her out. I will have a link to her stuff in the description of my video. So anyway, we're gonna come back to this when it dries, so I will see you then. All right, our canvas is dry. I did actually kind of sketch in an outline, which you can't see from here, but that's okay. So before we paint the peacock on there, or the color of the peacock, first thing we have to do is kind of go over the outline and take a lighter color. Ordinarily I'd probably use white, but for this, because nothing is really going to be lighter than unbleached titanium in this particular piece, I'm going to actually use unbleached titanium and just kind of go along the edges, making the shape first. I'm using a 3/8 inch angled brush. It's made by Royal and Langnickel. I like this brush a lot. I've never been to like art school or anything, so I don't know if this is what they would tell you is the proper brush, but I don't care. I like it. It gives me a lot of control. It is hot in here. I might have to turn on the air as soon as I'm done with this outline. It doesn't have to be like super smooth or thick or anything. It just has to kind of lighten up the area that we're going to use. I actually like to use unbleached titanium a lot as like a base coat for faces, especially. Well, if it's a white person, you know, because it's a good starting point and it's a much more realistic looking color to go from than white. I mean, nobody's face is actually white. Well, nobody I've ever met. Mimes, I guess. Their faces are white. Clowns. I hate clowns. Not that they've ever done anything to me, but I just find them a little creepy. Having a little trouble seeing up here. There we go. So I'm actually working from a photo that I took a couple months ago in Toronto, on Toronto Island. Thank you, Ray. There's a petting farm thing there. Completely free, although it does cost money to take the boats over to the islands. But it's not that expensive. And it was a fun, relaxing place to hang out. It was my first time leaving the country, which for me is the US. I live in Ohio, so it was about an 8-hour drive. I took my mom. We stayed a couple nights in an Airbnb. My cat keeps knocking stuff over, but that's okay. What was I gonna say? Toronto. So it's a really interesting, different city from what I'm used to, because Cincinnati is so comparatively very tiny. We have some cool skyscrapers here, but in Toronto it's like nothing but high rises for miles, and it's apartment buildings and office buildings and hotels. And then there's the CN Tower, which is like a sky needle, so that's pretty cool. I did not get to go up there, but I'm told that when you take the elevator up, the floor is made of glass. So if you don't like heights, I would not recommend it. I can hear my cat crinkling something. She is really trying to get my attention right now. As if she doesn't get it all the time. Just trying to bring out the fan of the tail appropriately to kind of match the way this peacock was sitting, because he was quite majestic. And it's okay that I got outside my original line a little bit, because I can just fan it out a little more. Also, the feathers are going to be kind of brushed out on the sides, so I don't have to be super precise. There's room for error, and I don't have to worry too much about the direction of the paint, but to some extent it is going to affect the outcome of the piece. So I'm trying to brush in the same direction that I'm gonna brush. Because you can kind of see these lines here coming through from the background. Hopefully I'll put enough layers of paint on that it won't matter a whole lot in the end, but it will still probably be visible at least a little bit if you're looking for it. Not the end of the world. Okay, so I want to make sure that I get all the way to the bottom L, because the tail feathers are gonna be all the way down. So I want that lighter base. And I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. And where did I put my tablet? I do not know. I was going to show you the photo I'm working from, but I think my cat lost it. I'll have to find it. Alright, I'm going to come back in a few minutes when this dries. The background took like 4 hours, but this is not going to take as long because it's not as thick, there's not as much paint. Yeah, parts of it's already dry. So give it a few minutes, I'll be back. Alright, the unbleached titanium is dry. I did a little test blotch of the phthalo blue just to make sure I was gonna get the result that I wanted, and I did. So I found my tablet. This is the photo, can you see it? Yeah, there we go. And my cat didn't lose it, it was me. Sorry, Ray. Okay. So let's take a look at this here. So we've got this little thingy up here, which is pretty dark, like black, really. And then there are some real dark shaded areas up here that are basically black. This is going to be the phthalo blue here. We're going to go in with some white for these little white patches, I guess you'd call them. I am going to stick with mostly the unbleached titanium on the beak, and some white and some black. So I guess what I'm gonna do first is make sure I have water to rinse my brushes. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is grab a little bit of white, and I don't want that much on the brush, so I'm actually just gonna get a tiny little bit here. And I did kind of draw some of the lines back in just to give myself a little bit of a guide. And I'm looking for really light amounts of paint on the brush, because if you get like globs, you're just gonna end up making a mess. Trust me, I've learned that the hard way. And I still do it all the time. Trying to be better and more patient, because art takes time. Okay, that didn't work. But there are shortcuts for sure. And I'm always learning new things. Any artist who tells you that they aren't always learning new things is lying. Or they're just not very good at it. And I'm just, kind of coming in here with a little bit of white on the beak. But it's gonna really pop on these little white accents on the face, because those are actually white. They're not just light reflections. It's actually white. So it is extra hot in my studio because there is a wasp nest in between the window panes and the screen, and it's the only window in here. And damned if I'm gonna try to get that thing out of the window, that's not gonna happen. And I'm kind of blending the white with the unbleached titanium. I think there was a little bit of shadow in the beak too, so I'm gonna go back in here. Yeah, okay, there's a black spot right in here. So I'm gonna rinse some of this white and unbleached titanium. God, that's a mouthful. Off-white, beige. We'll call it beige from now on. But just so you know, the package is gonna say unbleached titanium. And I'm gonna grab some black. It may have been a little bit more black than I wanted, but that's okay. Because I can just grab grab a little bit of white here. See what I mean about too much paint? Now I'm going to be fighting this battle between the black and the white and the beige for the next couple minutes. No, I got this. There we go. Okay. So I have a neutral gray here that I am gonna actually use a little bit of and mix with just a tiny bit of my black, because I don't want it too dark in some of these places. I want it dark, but I don't want it too dark. And I really don't need a lot of it. Okay. So we're gonna go in between the two white areas, because that's where his eye is, right? And then we're gonna kind of come around here. And kind of give more definition to this shape, white shape. And this whole section of the face is actually going to be pretty dark, so get some more of this mixture. I'm trying to mix it up as evenly as I can, keep the color consistent, but it's okay if it's not 100% perfect. I can adjust the darkness as I go, because this will take more than just the initial, like, pass, you know? And I love brushing, I really do, but it's very time consuming, and it's much more challenging than pouring or spray painting, unless you're trying to spray paint something with a lot of definition, in which case a brush is easier. But it's been a while since I've brushed anything, so I wanted to do this. I'm trying to get better at feathers, because I have something specific that I'm trying to do with feathers, and I want to practice first. Not saying that this piece is gonna be bad, but it's gonna be some practice. I have a self-portrait I've been working on for 2.5 years, about, yeah, April of 2016, so 2.5 years. And there are feathers in it, so I want it to be a masterpiece. To be honest, a lot of the art that I do is practicing techniques to apply to the pieces that I really, really care about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I care about all my art, but there are certain pieces that mean more than others, for sure. Okay, so this is gonna kind of come down to about here. This is probably not good to do to my brushes, but I find that it gets me the result that I want most of the time. The kind of sketching, shading type motion. And brushes are replaceable, but they exist as a means to an end, and if they're not accomplishing the goal that I want to accomplish, then what is the point? I'm actually gonna lighten up this little head dealy, little oh, what do you call those things that like Roman centurions used to have on their helmets? You know, with like the little helmet mohawks. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna lighten this up a little bit too with some neutral gray. Just this area here, because light is gonna be hitting it. So we're gonna actually pull that this direction. Now, a little tiny bit more black in the eye. Give that a couple seconds to dry. In the meantime, we're gonna start on these areas over here, the sides. So I'm really just gonna use like another pass of beige. And I'm gonna kind of try to take it this direction because that's the way the news goes. Try not to like rest your hand on the canvas because you're probably gonna get paint on your hand and smudge something. I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time. I'm really bad at my job. And then I'm gonna mix up some black with some burnt umber, mostly the burnt umber. I'm gonna kind of make some wavy feathery lines in here. Oh yeah, I like that. Sometimes if your brush is a little bit wet, it gives you like slightly runnier paint, and that can work to your advantage at times. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. So after looking at the picture again, I am going to kind of lighten up this area by taking some white and some unbleached titanium. Kind of subtly in here because there's definitely some light up here. Maybe this little section too. Glad I caught that when I did. My dog is harassing my cat, and that is the sounds that you're hearing. Hunter, leave her alone! Go play somewhere else. Oh my god. These two. They're best friends. Don't worry. They like each other. Okay. Now that that ordeal is over, we're going to go back to the burnt umber, and I'm not going to wipe my brush because I want a slightly lighter burnt umber. To go along with the lighter background color. So I'm just leaving some of that white in there with it. It's a little too light though. More brown. You know, you never really think about this part of the peacock. You always think about the bright, colorful tail feathers. I don't think I ever noticed until I decided to paint one that they have like earthy colors in their body. Alright, so I'm going to that was a glob. Kind of come back in here with the original setup. And get more in the black. Get more burnt umber. Ray. She is seriously the cutest thing ever. Ray, come here. Ray. Hey, what are you doing? Okay. So that part is ready. Hi, kitty. There she is. Okay. This is Ray. She's kind of a butthead, but she does stuff like this, and it's really cute. She'll probably sit here for at least 3 or 4 minutes, even if I try to put her down. She likes it. Okay, so where are we at? Cleaning this one. So I'm going to go back to my 3/8 angled brush because the head parts have dried now. And I'm gonna, ooh, okay. Really? I'm gonna kind of bring in the phthalo blue here. So and if you're going to the store to buy art supplies, phthalo is spelled with a P at the beginning most of the time. P-T-H-A-L-O. I don't know why, but I'm sure that I will end up looking it up at some point because I am just like that. So we're gonna blend the phthalo blue up into this dark area. Just a little bit on the head dealy. Lots and lots up here. Okay. Kind of see what we're doing here. So I'm gonna get just like a really, really, really thin layer on the very tip of the bristles and kind of come in here and coat it. So you're mostly gonna see, whoops, it's okay, you can fix that. You're mostly gonna see the dark. I mean, that you can't tell that's blue, but it is. So since I destroyed the whole painting by getting blue on the white, oh no! Guess what? The great thing about art is that you can paint over it. So it's not very much, so it's probably going to be dry by now. So I can just kind of come back in here, back with the white, and just fix that really fast. Okay, so the head looks good. And sides, I think they look okay. I might touch them up a little bit after I finish, or start at least, on the tail feathers. So let's see what we've got going on here. We've got kind of a blue fading into a real pretty green here. So then that kind of fades back down into a deeper green with some lighter green accents and some maybe cerulean and some more phthalo blue accents. And I'm not gonna paint this fence into it. That's ridiculous and obstructed my view of this beautiful peacock. Stupid fence. Alright. Where am I at? So I'm gonna actually prepare my palette. I've already got phthalo blue. Here's some of this light green color. One of my neighbors must have cooked roast beef or steak or some kind of beef for dinner because it smells so good in here. Alright, phthalo green. And let me get some cerulean, which I had not set up for some reason. You know what? I don't need that yet. Oh goodness, my hair is falling apart. So, I am actually just going to start with this section here because that's, yeah. Mix in some white here. Lighten it up a little bit. Maybe not that much. actually taking some of this phthalo green and lightening that up now too. So I am going to blend the phthalo blue and the phthalo green. Color blending is my jam. Not the kind you put on toast, but well, yeah, no, it could be that. Whatever. It doesn't have to make sense. Okay, and now we're gonna come in here, and I don't entirely 100% care for this light green color. It's gonna be kind of on the neon side. So I am going to mix it with a little bit of the phthalo green to give it a softer, less in your face kind of feel. And then we're gonna do this and blend it into the rest of the painting. And this is where really the tail feathers are starting to come in. So I'm not going to go much further than that at the moment. But I am going to fill in little itty bitty spot up here that I missed. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna thicken up these colors to really make them pop. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm not blocking the camera, but I also can't paint unless I can, you know, reach the canvas. There she goes again, knocking stuff over. That's my kitty. Ray is a very special cat. And I say that because she has more personality than most humans. Isn't that right, you little butthead? I don't know if I've ever told you guys this before, but when she was about 3 or 4 months old, that was in 2014, so No, 2013. 5 years ago. She broke into my apartment. So she is named after Ray from Breath of Fire 3, which was a PlayStation 1 video game. Ray in the game was a were-tiger / cat burglar, and that was definitely like a big part of the storyline. I miss that game. I don't think I ever beat it though. I can still hear the fight music in my head. So, she broke in, and from day one, she was nothing but trouble. She would try to steal food. She was always knocking over my stuff. Little asshole. And she's gotten a lot better, but she still likes to knock things over. She doesn't really try to steal food anymore because I think she knows by now that I never let her dish go empty. Oh man, that's a lot of progress. That went fast. What to do now? I think I'm going to take a break and maybe eat something and think about this for a minute, because it's very important to feed yourself and take care of your body. So, I will be back when I am well fed, and that could be a little bit because I really like food. So, I'll be back. Might even be tomorrow if I don't have the energy tonight. This is really taxing, more so than it looks like. So, yeah. I like it so far though. It's very pretty. Hello little friend, I want to pet you. Alright. I'll see you in a bit. And we're back. So it's actually been 4 days since I started this video. I have been working all weekend, so I apologize that it took me so long. Not that it's going to make a difference to you. You're going to watch it all at the same time anyway. So I guess the thing to do now is to start on the tail. Looks like my tablet is dead, even though I haven't used it in that time because it's an old tablet. But that's okay. I'm just gonna plug it into the charger, and I'm not gonna do a whole lot right this minute. I have a little bit of time, and then I have plans. And I'll probably come back to this after I get home. So right now I'm just gonna actually lay some shading groundwork. I've got obviously white, some neutral gray, and some black. And I'm probably going to do the shading in mostly gray because it is kind of neutral and not too dark, not too light. So, yikes. Okay. So let's soften up my brush a little bit with some water, which will also help the paint flow a little bit better. And I am not going to actually follow the I'm not going to refer to the photo for this because the tail feathers were kind of in a darker area. And I don't really want them to come out super dark. I want a lot of light on them. So I'm gonna just kind of shade in a little bit. And then come in with some white. And there's going to be a lot of light on the rump here because that will give it some depth. And you know, make it look more like a living thing. Okay. So I'm also gonna do just a little bit of the lightning along in here. Not too much. Very very light. But just enough to give it a hint that like there's light shining on its back. Because I want it to look kind of realistic, you know? And then I'm going to come back in and, oh, that's okay. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to paint the feathers over this. So, I can't really show you the photo for reference right now because, as I said, my tablet is dead. But what I am going to do is lightly come in with my very small angled brush, which I feel gives me some good precision. And I'm going to touch it in some gray, I'm going to touch it in some white, and I'm going to kind of let them just kind of dab it and, you know, yeah. So, it's kind of got, it's a little too dark. It's kind of got this like circular thing going on his back, like a circular pattern. So, kind of painting in these really tiny circles. And it's, excuse me, it's going to be kind of subtle. I want it to be kind of subtle, so that's always challenging when you're brushing because, you know, if you get too much paint or whatever, you're going to end up with these really pronounced lines, and that's not what I'm here for. So, here we go. I think we got this. Apologize for the background noise. My dishwasher and my air conditioner are both running. I think what I'm going to do with this video is I'm going to upload this full version. And I'm also going to speed it up and post a shorter, kind of more concise version where you don't have to listen to me bullshit about my cat and explain horribly what I'm doing. In this area where I've lightened it up, I'm actually using a little bit more white. Because it's going to add to the effect of, you know, more light. So, anyway, so I'm going to post the full version and I'm going to post a sped up, quickie version with some music. Maybe I'll use some of my own music. Maybe I'll use friends' music. I don't know yet. Cross that bridge when I come to it. And for those of you who just choose to watch this version, it doesn't matter. Okay. So that went quicker than I expected, as painting usually does, until I get super zoned in and I don't even realize I've been painting for 4 hours sometimes. Alright, so I've got about an hour. I guess I can work on this more. Here we go. I'm gonna get out my light green, my phthalo green, and my phthalo blue. I absolutely love these phthalo colors because they just have that kind of smooth, pleasant feel to them that I don't know how else to describe it except that it's not like too bright, you know what I mean? It's not super dark either. It's like the right temperature. So we're coming from this mixture here of the phthalo green and the light green. So we're gonna kind of, I'm actually gonna pull this greenish hue out a little bit. And kind of get it in all the little nooks and crannies. And I'm just gonna kind of bring these feathery strokes down and create this kind of feathered texture throughout the tail. And I'm going to do probably multiple rows of like feathers that go in this direction and that direction. All in downward strokes, but to the left, to the right. Like the Cupid shuffle. And it's okay that we have some kind of lighter, actually I am gonna kind of bring in some more of the light green just by itself. up towards the rump because that is a lighter area. Yeah, I like that. Part of painting is making a decision and then making another decision that contradicts that first one a little bit. And then I'm going to actually bring in some even lighter green by mixing some white, just a little bit of the light green. I'm going to put a few strokes of that in this feather. This peacock feathers are huge, right? So we're doing like bring some more of this phthalo green in here. Make a little bit more of a base for down farther in the tail because I'm seeing a lot of the beige poking through, or the unbleached titanium, and I don't really want the background to look like, you know, the walls of my apartment, because that wouldn't make any sense. That wouldn't look like a peacock. So, here we go. I'm gonna blend it in really good. I'm actually gonna go upwards with it too. Because I can go back over this, right? And I already know how at this point because I did it once already. But I would rather redo a little bit of my work than have a finished product that isn't what I want it to be. I know nobody likes redoing things they've already done, but it's part of the artistic process as you learn to go over things. And that's one of the things that I've been having to do, especially with my self-portrait that I mentioned. Because I did things one way, I didn't like how it came out, and so I had to learn a better way to do them, and then I kind of painted over. And the feathers really are the last part that I need to fix. So if I'm a little bit obsessed with birds for a while, that's why. Also, I live in the forest, and I see a lot of wildlife here, a lot of big birds, and I've grown to be fascinated by them. So I had an opportunity recently that was pretty cool. I got to hold a falcon at the Ohio Renaissance Festival. And that was pretty cool. It yelled a little bit. Birds like to yell. If you don't think they're yelling, they're yelling. I also have been toying with the idea of someday adopting a bird as like a pet. But I don't want like a parakeet, you know, I don't want the little trendy birds that people get. Not that animals in general are trendy. I don't know why I used that word. That's not the right word I meant. But I like big birds. I want like a hawk or a falcon, but you know, that's not realistic. Or an owl. I don't see myself picking up falconry though anytime soon, and I absolutely do not have the resources to take care of such a pet. Oh, got dark in here. Sorry. So, it's also, and I have looked into this. It is illegal in Ohio to own birds that are indigenous to Ohio. So, I can't do that. But peacocks are not indigenous to Ohio. So in a couple years, you might see me with a peacock. I was reading about it a little bit, like what goes into owning a peacock, and they said you should own like a bunch of them, like one peacock and like 4 to 5 peahens. Which, for those of you who don't know, the peacock is the male of the species. The peahen is the female. They are peafowl. And there's a few different kinds, but the ones that do best in this kind of climate are the India blue, which is actually the kind that I'm painting right now. The green ones, I guess, don't do as well. And they said to build a tree house for them to keep them warm in the winter so they can all snuggle up in there, and because it keeps them safe from coyotes. Which I also adore coyotes, but you won't catch me keeping one of those as a pet. As much as I would love to. That's just not a realistic goal anytime soon. So yeah, in the quickie version of this video, you will not have to listen to me ramble about my exotic pet dreams. I would also not mind at all having like a pet fox or a raccoon. In some of these areas, I'm just kind of lightening up the back because I want the feathered texture to actually show up against it. And see, like I said, I'm still kind of learning as I go. I am taking this light green in here, but I'm really thinning it out, spreading it as thin as possible so that I can still kind of see the phthalo green underneath it. And it's not just that bright, ugly light green by itself. Not that it's an ugly color, I mean, it's got its time and place, but boy. This ain't it if it was just solid light green. Not into it. This type of color is meant for mixing and putting in small accents, you know. I don't want to super light green in your face. Okay. There we go. And now I'm gonna go back to my feathering technique. And I'm kind of fading the lighter green into the darker green by, you know, up here I had mostly light green and some extra light green and then the white accents in here, and then it goes back down into the light green. And coming back down in here, I'm doing a light green mixed with phthalo green. And then I'm just going to kind of end up doing the phthalo green. That's a little bit much. Ew. Sometimes you can get away with just moving on to the next darker color without wiping your brush or without rinsing it, if it's close enough and if you're okay with having just a hint of the lighter color mixed in. Ooh, there we go. That's good texture. I don't know why I put the phthalo blue on my palette. I was not planning on using it for this part, so, you know, I just like wasting paint. Because that's probably going to dry out before I get a chance to actually use it. But it's just a little dab, so that's okay. If you're wondering, I did not go to art school. I don't know if I've told you that before, but I am not by any means an expert or an authority, so don't listen to the words that come out of my mouth. I'm just telling you what's worked for me. So you can kind of see we've got this real distinct line over here, and I managed to kind of paint over here in a way that doesn't let the line show up so much. So I'm just gonna go back over this area a little bit harder and kind of try to thicken up these feathers so you don't see that line. I think we're almost there. Real carefully come back up here. Add a few more over here. Okay. So now we've got our tail feathers, at least the texture, and that's great, but there's still more to do. You know, peacocks have this kind of eye looking thing on the end of their tail feathers, right? So we're going to have to come back in when this dries and definitely paint in those really cool eye things. But for now, you'll remember how I kind of messed up here and had to paint more white over this, well, when the white dries, you know, it does let a little bit more of the color back through. So I'm gonna have to go back in with just a little bit more white. And kind of perfect that a little bit. Okay, and since I'm up here with the white anyway, I might as well just give him a little bit of a reflection in his eye. Because, you know, it gives it depth. So, I think that concludes this session. I really can't do anything with these tail feathers until they're dry. So, excuse me. I will be back probably later this evening after I get back from whatever the hell I'm doing. So, until then, my friends, it's been real. Okay. I'm back from my break. We are ready to paint the little eye dealies. So these are kind of like circular, excuse me. And you can kind of see how it's like a real light green, and then there's another circle inside of that, the top of which is almost a cerulean, and the bottom is kind of like back to that unbleached titanium with just maybe just like a hint of the light green. And then it's got just on the top half, the very middle, a spot of the phthalo blue. So what I'm gonna do, whoops, let's see, we've got a few up here, and I'm just going to start by making one. I need a little more light. Gonna grab some white and some light green. And I'm going to make the first circle. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and make a few of these circles because I gotta wait for it to dry really to do the rest. Whoa, forgot that was up there. I'm gonna make these a little bit bigger actually, because I feel like wasn't the right proportion. Mixing a little bit more. We're just going to kind of put these in a few places. Scattered throughout. Here. I'm really just putting them random places. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Peacock can have as many or as few of these as you want. It's your bird. You get to decide. Tail almost looks like a Christmas tree if you look at it hard enough. And now I'm having flashbacks to trying to decorate the Christmas tree and just getting that pokey, itchy feeling. I just hated decorating the Christmas tree. Hey, don't do that. My cat likes to knock things over, as I've mentioned. Okay. Come up here and lighten these up a little bit because kind of on the higher part where all the light is. Okay. Looking at my picture again, getting that frame of reference. these little splotches dry pretty fast because it's small, thin layer of paint. I'm gonna start with this one. No, that's too much paint. And we're gonna fill in the whole, not the whole circle, but like leave, you know, leave a ring of green around it, but make a circle, a smaller circle inside the bigger circle, because that way I'm painting blue over the unbleached titanium instead of over the green, which is gonna come out a little better. Yes, kitty, I hear you. You want all of my attention, but only when I'm doing other things. No. This one. That one's still a little bit tacky, so I'm not gonna mess with it yet. I really don't want like a lot of green around the outer edge, just like a hint of it. So I'm gonna go back over some of these. So the next step is to come in with the cerulean. And just to get like the top half, that's even a little bit darker than I want it. So I'm actually gonna dab a little bit of white on my brush. It's even too much. I'm gonna cover the whole top half of the unbleached titanium circle. This time I'm gonna have a little bit of blue, or cerulean, excuse me, on the brush, and a little bit of white, and I'm gonna kind of just let them mix together as I go. Very subtle. And hold on. So I'm gonna let you see this a little bit closer, which I hope that you can see. I'm gonna just touch it in there real quick. Touch it in there. Oh, that was a little bit much, so I'm gonna wipe it off a little bit. But that's okay. There we go. Now I've got an acceptable color. But not enough of it. So I'm gonna grab some more. Hey! See what I'm dealing with here? Hey! She's always trying to, I don't know what she's trying to do, but she does that a lot with that painting, which is not finished. One on the wall, a really big one. I'll show you that another time. Maybe make a video of working on it. Thank you. That really needed to be on the floor. I appreciate it. And she's about to come over here and start knocking down my paint tubes. Wait for it. You'll hear the little thuds. No, not the water. Don't do that. Stop. Go. I actually made a song about Ray. It's on SoundCloud, if anybody is interested in hearing it. It's just a goofy little electronic thing that I made. mostly with samples. And I am also Spooky Von Doom on SoundCloud. Music is really my primary passion, but like most of us, I struggle to do the things that I care about most, put them off. But I've been getting better, you know. I got the equipment that I need to do what I want to do, and now it's just a matter of taking the time out, making myself do it. And I've been getting better and better every week about putting the time into practicing. Okay. I think I'm happy with this, and I'm ready to make the phthalo blue circles. So this is going to be a small circle inside a bigger circle. It's not going to be a perfect circle because I don't have, you know, I'm not Maynard James Keenan. For those of you who don't know, which is not very many of you, I'm sure Maynard James Keenan is the lead singer of a band called The Perfect Circle. So that's the joke. I think I want these blue dealies in the middle to be a little bit bigger than they are. take one more look at this reference picture. I think we did a pretty good job, guys. Maybe I'll, yeah, I think I know what I need to do. I'm gonna take some more of this extra light green that I've been mixing. Just a little bit of white, or I'm sorry, a little bit of green, a little bit of white. And I'm gonna cut it. Yeah, that really makes it pop. Up here, I'm gonna come in with a little bit of white because this is already that color, so I need something to contrast it a little bit. This is basically just a finishing touch that we're doing. So we're almost done. This has been a project that has taken... Camera stopped on me for some reason. But that's okay. Okay. I think we're done. I like it. You like it? I don't care if you like it or not. I like it. Now the only thing left to do is sign it. My signature, as many of you know, is what I refer to as an octopus. It's an octopus in the shape of an ohm. And we'll just draw the ohm first. Whoops. So you can see what I'm talking about. That's symbol. And then we're gonna turn it into a little octopus. And this is the fish he's eating. There we go. All done. Well, guys, it's been real. Till next time.